Panama is a country of over 4 million people, most of whom live in and around its capital of Panama City. Panamanians are typically Spanish-speaking Christian mestizos. Gross domestic product purchasing power parity is $43,000 and income inequality is high. Panama uses the US dollar as its currency. Panama is most famous for its 52-mile-long canal. Construction of the canal began in 1881 by the French. They gave up 8 years later. The French failed to construct the canal for 3 main reasons: corruption, malaria, and an insistence that the canal be sea level. The highest point on the canal cut was 330 feet above sea level, so the idea of blasting away that much material was impractical. Perhaps the French were simply overconfident due to their 1869 success with the Suez Canal in Egypt, which is sea level. U.S. participation started in 1906 with 55,000 people and completed the canal in 1914. The United States succeeded constructing the canal largely due to making it based on a system of locks and by aggressively eradicating the local disease-carrying mosquitoes that earlier had killed tens of thousands of workers. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, more than 12 million Africans were transported to the Americas as slaves. Most of the canal workers came from the West Indies, were of African extraction, and were paid less than the white workers. The canal was very important during World War II, not only for supply transfer, but for aircraft carriers, battleships, and submarine passage. At one point, Japan was planning to attack the canal with several large submarines, I-400s, that housed small floatplanes inside. Japanese submarine carriers contained 1 to 3 floatplane torpedo bombers, and some submarines contained enough fuel to circumnavigate the world 1.5 times. These weapon systems were unique to Japan. I live in Oregon and have been to a local bombing site near the coast where a Japanese submarine-based floatplane flown by Navy pilot Fujita dropped several firebombs near the city of Brookings. Fujita was of samurai heritage, and after the war he traveled to Brookings, Oregon to meet with the people he earlier tried to set fire to. He brought his katana sword and was ready to commit harakiri, suicide by disembowelment, to demonstrate his contrition. Fortunately, the Americans held no hostility towards Fujita and even welcomed him with a parade. Fujita gave his family's 400-year-old samurai sword to the people of Brookings, where it now resides in a display at the Brookings Public Library, a place I have visited. Ships crossing the 50-foot deep canal from Atlantic to Pacific are raised 85 feet above sea level at their highest point. The original locks are 110 feet wide and allow the passage of Panamax ships. A third, wider lane of locks was constructed between 2007 and 2016. The new locks are 1,400 feet long, 180 feet wide, 60 feet deep, and allow the transit of larger Neo-Panamax ships. Ships are charged for passage based on size and typically take around 12 hours for the transit. The Panama Canal has a total of 6 different levels, separated by locks, powered by 25 horsepower motors. The politics and ownership of the canal are long and complicated. Suffice it to say that the canal was finally transferred to Panama in 1999, thanks largely to United States President Jimmy Carter.